Ethan had always been invisible. On the massive interplanetary station where humans and aliens worked side by side, he was just another engineer. His days were filled with repairing machines, calibrating consoles, and cleaning up after others' mistakes. Most people didn't notice him. Most people didn't care. That was fine with Ethan. He liked the quiet. He liked the work. But sometimes, in the quiet moments, he allowed himself to dream. He dreamed of life beyond the gray metal walls, of a family, a home, and maybe someone special. He had never been lucky in love. Humans around him had friends, partners, even children. Ethan had nothing, just routine. And today, the routine was interrupted in the most unexpected way. A delegation of aliens had arrived on the station. Not just any aliens. They were from a proud, matriarchal warrior race known throughout the galaxy. Their people were tall, elegant, and terrifying in their precision. They moved with a kind of grace that was almost unnatural, their eyes sharp and calculating, and their armor gleaming under the station lights. Humans usually kept their distance. Ethan did too, mostly. That was until he saw her, Commander Lyria. She was unlike anyone he had ever seen. Her armor was polished black with silver edges that caught the light as she walked. Her hair, long and silver, fell over her shoulders in a way that seemed almost like it was alive. Her eyes were a shade of violet he had no words for, and when she looked at him, Ethan felt as if she could see every secret he had ever tried to hide. She was stunning, terrifying, and completely out of reach. Ethan's hands froze on the console he was repairing. He could feel his heartbeat in his ears. He whispered under his breath, thinking no one could hear him. Wow, she's gorgeous. I wish I had a wife like her. The words barely left his lips when he felt it, a presence. He glanced up and his stomach sank. Commander Lyria had stopped a few meters away. She was staring at him. Her head tilted slightly, an expression he could not read. Human, she said, her voice calm but commanding. Repeat what you said. Ethan's eyes widened. His mouth opened, but no words came out. He stumbled backward, tripping over a tool crate. I was just talking to myself. Lyria stepped closer, her boots clicking against the metal floor. Do not lie. In my culture, spoken words are binding. Honesty is not optional. Ethan's mind raced. Binding? Spoken words are binding? Oh no, what have I done? I didn't mean anything, he stammered. I was just thinking out loud. It wasn't real. You admire me, she interrupted, her violet eyes locking onto his. You called me gorgeous. You wished for a wife like me. These are the words you spoke. Ethan swallowed hard. He had never been this terrified in his life. He nodded slowly. Yes. I said that. I didn't mean to. Lyria did not look angry. That surprised him more than anything. She looked curious, fascinated even. She studied him, her expression unreadable, as if she were analyzing a strange artifact. You speak differently than your people, she finally said. You speak with sincerity. Most humans do not openly admire, not even those they respect. You are unusual, Ethan blinked. He had never been called unusual before, at least not in a way that didn't make him feel small. Here, with a towering alien warrior studying him like a scientist, he felt both exposed and important. I'm just honest, he muttered. I can't help it. Explain this. Wife thing, Lyria said, tilting her head. In your culture, what does it mean to wish for a wife? Ethan blinked. This was not what he expected. He had thought she would be angry or laugh at him. But she wasn't. She wanted answers. She was actually listening. Well, he began, taking a deep breath. A wife is someone you care about deeply, someone you trust, someone you want to be with, to share your life with. It's not about power or status, it's about connection. Lyria considered this carefully. She had never heard such an explanation. Her people chose partners for strength, alliances, or obedience. Love, connection, that was a concept foreign to her culture, and yet, she felt a spark of interest. As the day passed, Lyria followed Ethan, not to mock him, not to threaten him, but to observe. She watched the way he worked, the way he treated other humans kindly even when they were rude. She noticed how he paused to fix a small leaking pipe rather than walking past it. At one point, she approached him while he was adjusting a hydraulic panel. You think of others before yourself, she said, more statement than question. Ethan blushed. I just try to do my job right, he replied, and help when I can. Curious, she murmured. Your people are weak, you are not. By mid-afternoon, Ethan found himself explaining more about human relationships, marriages, friendships, and family traditions. Lyria listened as if every word were a puzzle she had to solve. Her questions were sharp, probing, and sometimes uncomfortable, but she did not leave. She stayed. That evening, when the station lights dimmed, Ethan returned to his workspace, exhausted but strangely exhilarated. He had never had anyone show this much interest in him before, let alone a being as formidable as Commander Lyria. He leaned back in his chair, rubbing his tired eyes. A soft sound made him look up. Lyria was there, standing quietly in the doorway. Her eyes glimmered in the dim light. "I wish to understand more," she said simply. "About this. Wife, you speak as if it is sacred, as if it is chosen freely. You must teach me." Ethan's jaw dropped. She wanted him to teach her. Him, the human no one noticed? The same human who had whispered a foolish sentence and almost regretted it immediately? I can try," he whispered, his voice shaking. "I can explain." Lyria stepped closer, sitting on the edge of a table as if it were the most natural thing in the world. "Then we begin now." Ethan swallowed hard. He had no idea how this would work. He had never considered that a conversation, a single sentence, could lead to this. He felt nervous, excited, and terrified all at once. But he began. He spoke slowly, carefully, explaining what family meant to humans, what love was, and what it meant to choose a partner freely. Lyria listened, never interrupting, her violet eyes fixed on him. Occasionally she asked questions that were difficult, challenging everything he thought he knew about human emotions. He answered honestly, sometimes fumbling, sometimes pausing to think. But she did not mock him. She did not laugh. By the time the station lights flickered to indicate night, Ethan was exhausted. He rubbed his hands together and looked at her, unsure what to say. "I will return tomorrow," Lyria said quietly. "We are not finished." Ethan nodded, heart pounding. He knew this was no ordinary situation. Somehow he had captured the curiosity of a warrior, a being who could destroy him with a thought, and somehow he felt proud. That night, as he lay on his small bunk, Ethan's mind raced. Could this really be happening? A warrior, one of the most respected beings in the galaxy, wanted to learn from him, wanted to understand human love, wanted him? He couldn't stop smiling. He knew tomorrow would bring more questions, more lessons, and perhaps more danger. But for the first time in his life, Ethan felt seen. Truly seen. And somewhere in the back of his mind, he whispered again, this time with hope rather than embarrassment. Maybe, just maybe, this is the start of something incredible. The next morning, Ethan arrived at the workspace earlier than usual, his heart pounding. He wasn't sure what to expect, but he knew one thing. Commander Lyria would be there. And she was. She stood by the main console, arms crossed, her violet eyes fixed on him as if daring him to falter. "Good morning," he said nervously. "Shall we continue?" She nodded once, almost imperceptibly. "We continue. Explain more about humans, about choosing a partner." Ethan took a deep breath. He tried to keep his voice steady as he spoke about emotions humans felt, the importance of trust and how relationships were built over time. Lyria listened with that same unwavering attention, occasionally tilting her head to process a concept. "Humans must learn to communicate honestly," he said. "You cannot force feelings. You cannot demand love. It must be given freely." Lyria's lips curved slightly, not quite a smile, but something that indicated curiosity. "Strange," she murmured. "In my culture, power is everything. Respect is earned through strength. You speak of weakness, and yet it commands attention." Ethan shrugged. "Maybe it is not weakness. Maybe it is courage to show who you truly are without hiding." She studied him, silent for a long moment. Then she said quietly, "You are brave human, not with weapons, not with strength, but with honesty. That is rare." As the day passed, Lyria continued to shadow him. She asked questions not to challenge but to understand. She watched him interact with others on the station, noticing how he treated the junior crew with patience, how he never belittled anyone, how he fixed machines meticulously even when no one would notice. Ethan began to notice small changes in her behavior, the way she lingered near him, the slight softness in her gaze, the rare laugh that escaped her during conversation. She was still a warrior, still commanding and imposing, but there was a new layer of curiosity, even warmth. By mid-afternoon, a group of her fellow warriors arrived on the station to observe her. They had heard reports of her strange behavior, following a human, asking endless questions about his culture, lingering near him instead of training. They were not pleased. "Lyria," one of them said, her voice sharp. "Why do you waste time with a human? He is weak. You are a commander. You do not fraternize with lesser beings." Lyria turned, her eyes flashing. "I am learning. He teaches things my people cannot. He speaks truth without fear. That is more valuable than any strength I know." The alien warriors exchanged confused looks. "You risk your reputation for curiosity?" one asked. "Yes," Lyria said simply. "Curiosity can lead to understanding. Understanding leads to power of a different kind." Ethan overheard the conversation and felt a strange mix of pride and anxiety. He never imagined that his words, one whispered sentence, could start such a chain of events. And yet here he was, somehow at the center of a warrior's focus, challenging centuries of tradition. That evening, the station announced a sudden emergency. A cargo module had malfunctioned, and debris was falling dangerously close to the engineering decks. Ethan was already running toward the area when Lyria appeared at his side. "This is your chance," she said quietly. "Show your strength in action, human." Ethan didn't need encouragement. He ran through the chaos, dodging falling crates and sparks. He reached the module and began to stabilize the controls. Lyria followed, her movements fluid, cutting through obstacles effortlessly. Suddenly, a large metal beam fell, threatening to crush the module. Ethan didn't hesitate. He pushed a crew member out of the way and took the impact himself. Pain shot through his shoulder, but he held the beam just long enough for Lyria to secure the module with a magnetic clamp. She glanced at him, eyes wide with disbelief, and something else. Admiration. "You protected others, even at risk to yourself. Courage is not always measured in strength," she said softly. Ethan winced but managed a weak smile. I just did what I had to do." Later, as the chaos settled, Lyria turned to him. "I understand now," she said, her voice calm but resolute. "Your people speak of love, partnership, and choice. I choose to learn from you, to be with you. If your people call this a union, then so be it." Ethan froze. You choose me?" She nodded. "Not as a subordinate, not as a prize, as a partner. I choose this because you spoke truth, because you acted with courage, because you are human, and that is enough." Before he could respond, the Empress herself arrived. The tallest, most formidable figure on the station. She had heard reports of Lyria's behavior. Her eyes scanned the scene. Ethan, bruised and bleeding slightly from the earlier incident, standing beside Lyria, who looked uncharacteristically calm and composed. "You dare defy tradition?" the Empress demanded. "This human is not your equal. You will abandon this. Folly." Lyria straightened, her chin raised. "I will not. He has shown me the courage my people cannot. He has shown me what it means to choose freely. I choose him." The Empress's eyes narrowed. "If this is to be, then it must be tested. You, human, must prove your worth, not with weapons, but with endurance, loyalty, and the ability to act without hesitation." Ethan swallowed hard.
He didn't even know what he would have to do, but he felt a strange calm.
He knew what was right. He stepped forward, placing himself between Lyria and the Empress. "I don't need to fight her," he said. "I only need to protect her. If that is the test, then I accept." The Empress studied him for a long moment. Then she nodded. "Very well. You will face the trial." The trial was simple in concept, but dangerous in execution. Ethan had to navigate the station during a simulated disaster, rescuing crew members and ensuring Lyria remained safe. Every step required him to make split-second decisions, balance his actions against risk, and act without hesitation, and he did. He lifted fallen beams, guided terrified crew members, and never faltered when Lyria was in danger. He shielded her from falling debris more than once, taking blows and sustaining injuries. Lyria watched in awe, silent for most of it, but every glance she threw his way carried something she had never expressed before: trust, admiration, and something deeper. When the trial ended, exhausted and battered, Ethan sank to the floor. Lyria knelt beside him, her hand on his shoulder. "You have proven more than courage," she said softly. "You have proven loyalty, strength of spirit, and honor. You are worthy, not as a servant, not as a subordinate, but as a partner. I am yours." Ethan looked at her, disbelief and joy mingling in his chest. I never thought this could happen. I was just talking to myself that day, he whispered. Lyria smiled, a rare, genuine smile that softened her otherwise fierce features. And I was listening, she said simply. The Empress approached, her expression unreadable. After a long silence, she nodded once. If my strongest warrior chooses a human, then I will honor her choice. Let it be known, Lyria is no longer bound by duty alone. She has chosen freely. A murmur spread through the assembled crew and warriors. Humans stared in awe. Aliens whispered among themselves. But Ethan barely noticed. All he could see was Lyria sitting beside him, hand in his. She was real. She had chosen him. That night, in the quiet of the station, Ethan and Lyria sat together, sharing stories of their respective worlds. She asked questions, sometimes simple, sometimes profound, and he answered. They laughed, debated, and for the first time, Ethan felt that he was not just surviving, not just invisible, but truly seen and valued. He looked at her, a smile spreading across his face despite the pain in his shoulder. I never imagined this, he said quietly. Lyria leaned closer. Neither did I, but here we are. And I am glad, Ethan whispered almost to himself. Maybe this is the start of something incredible. Lyria's violet eyes gleamed in the dim light. It already is. And in that moment, among the metal walls of the station surrounded by humans and aliens alike, Ethan realized that sometimes a single honest word could change everything.